What is up? GoodMicWork back at you. You all know why I'm here. Just a few hours ago, it was reported that Chyna, real name Joanie Laurer, was found dead at age 45. We've lost another one, and this one hurts. This is heartbreaking. And I don't know where to begin about Chyna. I mean, when this news broke, a lot of fellow YouTubers were coming up within a matter of minutes and uploading videos, just kind of rambling on about memories of Chyna and their opinions on the situation. I'm pretty much going to do the same thing, although I'll probably put a little bit more time into this because I have a lot to say about it. It's so unbelievably sad, and it's unfortunate that I predicted this a few years ago. I just knew it was going to fucking end this way for her, and my heart breaks. Chyna, I feel, literally lost her battle with life. She seemed like she could never quite get it together after leaving WWE. I know I've been hard on her in the past, and I'll talk about that here in a minute, but I just wish things would have worked out better for her, because there was a time when Chyna was a very strong woman. I mean, think about the shape she was in when she was young. You don't get that way by being a drug-addicted mess. You have to be driven, you have to be motivated, you have to be dedicated, and you have to be smart, and she was all of those things. But unfortunately, her life took a few bad turns, and she wound up in a bad neighborhood, around bad people, in really bad relationships, and she got into drugs, and she got into porn, and she's been a complete mess for the last 15 years. So I can't sit here and say that I'm shocked that this happened. I mean, I knew it was going to happen. And I'm not trying to be rude by speculating on her death. I know we don't know much at all right now. According to the police reports, she was found dead either at her home or someone else's home, I think in a bed. She might have even been there for a full day or something like that, maybe even 2 days. But again, when you're 45 years old, I mean, I'm sure Chyna put her body through some abuse over the years, so a heart attack or natural causes, I guess, is not completely out of the question. But what I fear is this is one of two things. It's either, number one, a drug overdose, or number two, a suicide. And what sucks about that is both of those possibilities are equally sad and could have been equally avoidable. And I guess we're going to learn more in the days and weeks to come as to what the cause of death actually was. But whatever they release is probably not going to surprise me, whatever the case. And it's just, it sucks. From a wrestling fan's point of view, Chyna was a pioneer. I mean, there was no one else like her before her or after her. She was a truly unique character and idea, and something that had never, ever, ever been done before. Chyna was almost credible as somebody that could actually beat up a man. I mean, she looked amazing when she first came in, and she was very intimidating. And then when you think about the way her career went in the WWE, how she transitioned to being a bodyguard for Triple H, which was such a brilliant idea to bring her in the first place. You always hear the stories of how Shawn and Hunter had to convince Vince McMahon to let her come in. What's wrong? Why does he need convincing? This is almost a no-brainer. You know, bringing in a woman like this to be a bodyguard, you know, to help get heat on a guy, of course it's going to work. I'll never forget her debut either. The way she grabbed Marlena and shook her like a rag doll, and Marlena sold it so well. I mean, she literally looked like a toy in Chyna's hands. And then she was standing guard during all of Triple H's matches there in 1997, and he would distract the referee, and she would kick the shit out of his opponent. And let me move my phone as it just buzzed right next to my microphone. But Chyna, when you followed her career through the WWE, she was one of the most recognizable superstars during the Attitude Era. She was over as hell, and everybody loved her, and WWE pushed her. I mean, she won the Intercontinental Championship. Can you believe that? A woman held a belt that has been held by guys like Ricky Steamboat, Pat Patterson, Pedro Morales, Randy Savage, Tito Santana, Greg Valentine, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Razor Ramon, Chris Jericho. I mean, there have been some icons to hold that belt. And she held it, and she held it well for multiple pay-per-views. I even remember hearing chatter of the WWE considering putting the world title on her, the fucking strap. I mean, that would have been unprecedented. So Chyna really, I think, changed a lot in professional wrestling, especially during the Attitude Era. I think she was an inspiration to women everywhere. And she walked into a man's world, and she dominated, and she was successful, and she won titles, and she got over. So that says a lot. And she had her act together at one time. Hell, I even remember after she left WWE, maybe even a year later or something like that, she appeared on Off the Record with Michael Landsberg, that Canadian talk show that has a whole bunch of WWE guys on it all the time. And she was a guest on that. You can probably even find it on YouTube. And I was so impressed by the way she carried herself, because I only watched this video maybe a year or two ago. And I was saying to myself, wow, there was actually a time where Chyna sounded and looked like an intelligent, responsible, driven woman that could achieve anything. The Triple H breakup didn't even look like it bothered her. I mean, she was moving on. She told the story. She was open about it. She wasn't holding anything back. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't twisting anything or being overdramatic. She was being a regular person. And I remember thinking to myself, man, where did she go wrong? Where did the wrong turn happen? Because how did she go from that to the extreme opposite of that, being someone that can't even carry themselves in public without falling down all over the place? And I think the drugs and the partying and the excessive lifestyle that she was leading took its toll on her and really caused a lot of mental problems, because she seems really mentally unstable. She has seemed that way for many years now, but she wasn't always like that. Like I said, there was times when she really had it together. So it's just sad, because Chyna is somebody that could be alive and prospering right now, could be involved with all sorts of projects. She could be a movie star. She could have maybe been able to have a better relationship with WWE and maybe come back all these years later, had she not gotten herself into so much trouble and the porn and all that kind of stuff. Maybe she could have came back and had another run once everybody put everything behind him. She's over Triple H, he's over her. It's water under the bridge. They can move on professionally. We could have seen her back in the WWE. It's a lot of what ifs, it's a lot of if-onlys, but there's nothing we can do about that now. We've lost Chyna, and it's sad. A lot of people have mentioned to me about the Hall of Fame. I've been getting tweets about it. Oh, good mic work. What do you think about Chyna in the Hall of Fame now that she's dead? Is WWE going to put her in? I'd say they probably will. But it's one of those things where Chyna, I was the first one to admit that she is a bona fide Hall of Famer. Absolutely, she deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It shouldn't even be debated whether she goes into the Hall of Fame. I don't even know why that's a question. You know, if you look at her credentials and what she did and the mark she left on wrestling, she is a first ballot fucking Hall of Famer. The problem is some of the things in her life have made the WWE want to distance themselves from her, and they haven't wanted to put her in. And Triple H, of course, made an ass of himself on the Stone Cold podcast that time when he cited the reason that they're not putting Chyna in the Hall of Fame was because he doesn't want his kids Googling her name, when there's a lot of people in the Hall of Fame that a kid could Google their name and see things just as bad as Chyna. There's a porn star in the Hall of Fame right now, and her name is Sunny, and she is a filthy whore. And I got to be careful what I say about her, too, because I don't believe it's beyond the realm of possibility that we get a similar story about Tammy Sitch one of these days. So, you know, and look at her. Look at how beautiful she once was. And look at what she's done to herself now. She's had all sorts of problems with drugs and alcohol as well, in and out of rehab. So, Tammy, I'm begging you, please, look at this situation with Chyna and don't let that happen to you. You can still be saved. It's not too late. I hope this is a wake-up call for someone like her, or maybe anybody else that might have similar issues. Don't let it get the better of you, because you can wind up dead before half of your life is even over, and it's not fair. It's not fair to your fans. It's not fair to the people that love and care about you. It's not fair to your family, and most of all, it's not fair to yourself. I've been hard on Chyna in the past, but I've never discredited the mark she left on wrestling. You know, I admire her pro wrestling career, and I'll never forget her. I mean, she was such a huge part of that Attitude Era. She was on every poster, you know, no matter what they did. It was Chyna, Chyna, Chyna. She was right there next to The Rock and Stone Cold and The Undertaker. She was a big part of that time period, and it's just, it's sad. It's always sad. Not to mention that she's just another one of many deceased wrestlers that just keep dying by the day. I mean, how many have we lost this month? 3? Blackjack Mulligan, Balls Mahoney, and now Chyna. And we lost a couple of big legends last year with Roddy Piper and Dusty Rhodes. So the deaths never end. They just keep on coming. It feels like we're running out of people to die. Whenever I go back and watch wrestling footage, because I do that all the time, it's impossible now, no matter what era you're watching, whether it's 70s, 80s, or 90s, you've got about a 90% chance of watching a match that consists of at least one deceased wrestler. And it's ridiculous. And it's out of control. So Chyna, to you, I just want to say thank you for a brilliant wrestling career. I had my opinions of you, but I never once took anything away from what you accomplished in wrestling. You were truly a one-of-a-kind performer and a true pioneer in every sense of the word. I would also like to say I'm sorry to any horrible thing I might have said about you in the past. I only did it because I love you. You know, I was just disappointed. I was mad. I was angered because I respected you at one time. And when I see people that I respect do things that makes me not respect them, it makes me react badly, to say the least. And it's probably not the last time I'm going to react like that. Bret Hart seems to be shooting off at the mouth a lot and has a lot of negative and bitter things to say about the wrestling business and other professional wrestlers that I admire and I enjoyed watching perform. And it's getting to the point where I'm like, okay, Bret, I love you, but you need to shut the fuck up. So I always try to be fair and as logical as possible. And if there was ever a time where I was ever unfair to Chyna, then I'm truly sorry. Because, you know, this is a horribly sad occasion. And no matter what I ever said about her, I never wanted this for her, ever. So rest in peace, Chyna. You will be missed. So far, the outpouring of support on social media has been pretty huge. Even Stephanie McMahon, I just saw a tweet from her come up. And it was funny, too, when I looked at the tweets about it, Stephanie had tweeted something about her, like, midnight workout or whatever. And I'm like, is Stephanie not seeing? Has nobody told her about Chyna? She's just tweeting like life is normal. And I was really surprised that she was tweeting out, you know, her midnight workout pics during all this Chyna news. And then not an hour later, she tweets, just heard the news about Chyna's passing, called her a pioneer, and showed her some respect. And that previous tweet with her doing her workout was deleted. So Stephanie, I don't think knew. I think Stephanie was one of the last people to find out. The wrestling fans knew like an hour or two before she did. You'd think Triple H would want to send her a text or something. All in all, sad day, and tomorrow will be interesting. I'm sure we'll get more reports of Chyna's passing, and we'll get a few more details about it, and I'm sure a lot of people will be speaking out on Twitter. I'm really curious to see what some people's reaction will be, if Triple H says anything, if X-Pac says anything, and maybe some other people with ties to Chyna, what they might have to say about it. But it's another dark day in wrestling, and I hate having to come up here and talk about this stuff. I'll tell you what, it's a good thing that today is 420, because I kind of need to be in that frame of mind when I do a commentary like this. So rest in peace, Chyna. You will be missed. I would love to hear all of your memories of her. Feel free to type away in the comments section. Give me your opinions on the situation, what you think about Chyna, and tell me some of your Chyna memories. I will be back up here this coming Monday after Raw, I'm sure, with a Raw review and probably a few follow-up thoughts on Chyna's passing. Keep a lookout for that in a few days. Take care to all of you. Catch you in a few days. Until next time, peace.